Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us here for another episode of Topic UFO. Tonight we're going to be speaking to an independent researcher who once lived in beautiful Orange County, California, and decided one day that he was going to move to Peru to investigate some of these ancient civilizations and locations that are located down there in Peru. The gentleman's name is Ian Driscoll, and he is on the line with us today. Ian, are you out there?
Sure am.
Great, great. Well, listen to Ian. Thanks so much for taking time out of your day to talk to us. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's great to talk to you.
So listen, here you are, a Orange County, Southern California guy, and for some reason you end up in Peru. How did that happen?
I lived in Orange County for a number of years, born and raised here. But I moved to New York for about, 5 years I spent in New York, and but the plan was always to get out specifically to see these these sort of enigmatic ancient places like Peru, like Egypt, India, these sorts of places. So Peru is kind of the first stop, and I've lived in Peru now for, going on 2 years. Right now I'm actually in California. I'm visiting family, but I'm heading back in about 2 weeks. So that's.
What made you go there, though? I mean, did you just wake up one morning and say, I'm going to Peru?
Well, I was always interested. I mean, my main subject of study for the last 15 years has been comparative mythology, alternative history, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And Peru was the perfect place to go and to really get in some good field research and look into a couple of subjects that otherwise from a distance I couldn't necessarily delve into as deeply as I would have liked.
Now, when you went down there, did you have plans on staying there, or is that something that just kind of took hold?
No, I definitely planned on living down there. I lived in Arequipa, which is a city pretty far to the south in Peru for about 6 months, and then I've lived in Cusco for about a year and a half, and when I go back, I'm actually going to a jungle city called Pucallpa to work with the sacred plants, all of the hallucinogenic medicines down there.
Wow, that will be amazing. Now, don't take it too far. We don't want to lose you.
Yeah, I'll try not to.
You might just go to the moon in a different way. So,
yeah, well, that can be a good thing or a bad thing. So.
Exactly. Ian, on your Facebook page, you have just a plethora of photos from your travels. And tonight I'd just like to hit on a couple of your albums.
Sure.
Let's talk about Machu Picchu. I know, that's someplace that so many people want to go. It's not the easiest place to get to.
Mm-hmm.
What is your thoughts on Machu Picchu as far as an ancient civilization? I mean, do you think this was just something that humans built, or is there some mythical things that come into play here?
Yeah, I mean, Machu Picchu is one of those places. It's iconic. Everyone really tries to get there at least one time in their life, at least most people that I've talked to. And quite honestly, it didn't hold a lot of fascination for me. I've been to Machu Picchu now 3 times, but when I went, I was blown away. It lived up to all of the hype, all of the hysteria surrounding it, and it's really one of those fascinating locations on Earth that just, it's one of those things you can read about it, but until you've been there, it takes your breath away. It really does. And in terms of ancient civilizations, I definitely think that the orthodox theories regarding Machu Picchu and its origin are incomplete, and they don't really match up with the oral tradition either. So, and I put a lot of stock in the oral tradition because I figured, who knows their history better than the people who have lived on the ground, right?
Exactly.
So,
And, you know, when I look at Machu Picchu, it doesn't strike me as being all that bizarre as far as the rock structures and the amount of the big stones and stuff. But the thing that gets me is how they got the rocks to the top of the mountains.
Yeah, absolutely. There are a lot of legends surrounding the buildings in Peru. I mean, not just Machu Picchu specifically, but all of the megalithic architecture, some of which, were said to have been put there by giants in sort of a time before recorded history. And honestly, when you go to Machu Picchu, much like most places in Peru, you notice three distinct architectural styles. And the first is, the megalithic architecture that we're all kind of familiar with, that we've seen in pictures of the Cusco streets and things like that. Those, incredibly precise polygonal blocks that fit together like puzzle pieces. Then you have something kind of a little less precise, but still impressive. Not as large, not as incredible, but still impressive. And then you have what I would term the pebble architecture of the Inca, and this is basically just piles of rocks stacked on top of one another, held together, sort of with mud and hope, and the differences between the architectural styles are marked. I mean, you really can't help but notice it if you're not coming from preconceived notions. So
Now, do you think that humans could have moved all of those rocks up that sheer side of the hill, say from the riverbed or something? Could humans have done that?
Well, I mean, that's a good question. I think it depends on what we're talking about when we talk about humans. I mean, could the Incas have done that? No, probably not. If we're talking about some kind of lost civilization with technology that, has since been forgotten, yeah, maybe. But still, it boggles the mind when you get up there and you're really at the peak of this mountainous area, and you look all around you, and all you see are just mountaintops and vegetation, and here's this lonely outpost of a city. But as I say, the oral tradition of Machu Picchu is actually very interesting. It's the people. Okay, so the orthodox story of Machu Picchu is that it served as sort of a secondary palace for one of the Inca rulers. His name was Pachacutec, and he was supposed to have built it and used it kind of as a vacation home almost, and all of this. Well, the evidence doesn't really support this idea. Even the academics will admit that that's just kind of that's basically the best theory they've been able to come up with, but it's not really there in the documents or the artifacts. So when you turn your attention to what the people on the ground, the locals who've been living there for, thousands of years are saying, they actually say that Machu Picchu was a medical experimentation center.
Really?
Yeah. They say that Machu Picchu was a medical experimentation center where somehow, this is what they say, somehow coca leaves and viper venom, a particular kind of viper, these were combined in some kind of incredibly sophisticated, almost alchemical process to produce a sort of immortality elixir, and so the nobles of the society would go to Machu Picchu if they were ill, if they were getting old, what have you, and they would consume this elixir, and then live just unnaturally long lifespans. So, I mean, we're talking about some people say 500-600 years, and in fact, when the Spanish came, when the conquest happened, they say that some of these people were still alive, and that they fled to the jungle and are living even today, survivors of the conquest. This is the oral tradition, so it's fascinating.
Well, it always seems to me like there's always at least some truth to these old stories, you know.
Absolutely.
And that must be fascinating, trying to get to the truth of that.
Yeah.
You know, one thing that I did notice, moving from Machu Picchu to some of these other locations, such as Tiwanaku and Pumapunku, the stones that are used and the way the stones have been, quote unquote, carved are so much different. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, the stones at Tiwanaku and Pumapunku are mind blowing. I mean, the precision of the architecture is really incredible, and it was all basically made from some sandstone, which, you know, isn't that amazing because it's an incredibly soft, pliable rock. But the more impressive pieces were carved directly from andesite and diorite, which are some of the hardest stones known to man.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the level of precision with which they carved out these stones is again just beyond our capabilities today. They and actually, I should say they are within our capabilities, but only because of our technological advances that have come along in the last 50 to 100 years. So you see these incredibly fine channels cut out in the stone with small, like almost pin-sized holes bored out in the channels. It's really incredible. When you come to this without preconceived notions, you can't help but wonder exactly how they accomplished all of this.
Now, how about the rocks that have the, it's like an H, dug out, and they look like they would have two blocks that would fit together.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking 90-degree angles right on these.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
What are your personal thoughts on how this could have been achieved or was achieved?
Yeah, well, it's an interesting question. I think at Tiwanaku you have, like you say, those H-shaped blocks. That's actually mainly at Pumapunku, which is a site that's very rarely visited, and it's about 5 minutes from the Tiwanaku site, which is much more well known. There are so many mysteries surrounding Pumapunku. I mean, one of them is the fact that you walk into Pumapunku and there are just these megalithic blocks, again, precision carving, everything else, that, like you say, the H blocks seem like they would have fit together almost like puzzle pieces, sliding into place with one another. But all of these blocks are just scattered all across the landscape, broken, some of them in two. I mean, there's this huge block there that almost looks like a stage that is now sort of diagonal to the ground and broken in the middle. It looks like some kind of cataclysm took place at some very, very ancient date, almost like there was an incredible earth upheaval, and it just destroyed everything that was so finely carved there.
But not so much like an earthquake, but more like a bombing, right?
Well, I mean, I don't even know if I don't know if it was a bombing, but if it was an earthquake, let's put it this way. I mean, we're talking about an earthquake that would almost just sort of roll across the landscape in waves, like ocean waves. I mean, that's what this looks like. It looks like these megalithic blocks were set up almost like pieces on a chessboard, and someone just came along and shook the board, and everything just went flying. There's hardly any order to the place today. So, yeah,
amazing stuff.
It really is.
Now, where is the location with this small brick wall and the carved rock heads every 6 feet or so?
Okay, so that's Tiwanaku.
That is Tiwanaku. Okay. Now, I understand that there's some heads there that look a little alien, perhaps.
They do. They look very strange. Actually, they remind me a lot of some of the architecture that you'd see on Hindu temples in India. Sort of that clean, kind of stern, somber face, sort of projecting from a flat surface, that kind of thing. But interestingly enough, a lot of those faces were placed there during a reconstruction that happened within the last 50 years.
Really?
Yeah, the faces themselves are definitely original, and they belong there, but how they were supposed to have been arranged, that was decided by archaeologists who, took it upon themselves to recreate what they thought Tiwanaku would look like. So what you see now when you walk into Tiwanaku is really almost like an artist's rendering of Tiwanaku, how they felt it should have looked.
But isn't that true about a lot of these ruins, especially down in Mexico and South America? A lot of them were rebuilt from the ground up.
Oh, definitely, yeah. In fact, Teotihuacan in just a little bit north of Mexico City, with the giant pyramids. In fact, the Pyramid of the Sun that has the same base measurements as the Great Pyramid at Giza. All of these were completely rebuilt, and when you walk on site, I mean, it's obvious because there is no precision to it. It's all kind of there's a lot of mortar and a lot of filler stones that have been stuck here, there, everywhere, and it's really terrible what we've chosen to do to our history. We've pretty much mutilated it.
Wow, that just that kills me.
Yeah.
The other rock formations that are just simply fascinating, and perhaps you can confirm what location this is, but these are the big, huge boulders that seem to have been poured, into these giant walls. You couldn't get a slip of paper through there. Where are we talking there?
So this is in the city of Cusco proper, and they line some of the streets in Cusco, and these are those classic giant polygonal blocks that look as though a lot of them look as though they were almost just poured into place. You're right, that's a that remains a mystery, of course.
No, but like you were saying when we talked originally, if you were to watch, say, Ancient Aliens, they will come up there and say, it looks like these aliens had some type of laser tool and cut these things out. But then you brought up something that I've never heard about, and that's this plant extract or something. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. Yeah. So again, I go back to the oral tradition, and the oral tradition for hundreds of years now has maintained that the way that they manufactured these stones was to liquefy them first, and then sort of almost mold them together like Play-Doh almost. This plant, Hiram Bingham wrote about it. Percy Fawcett wrote about it. Percy Fawcett was the legendary explorer. He got lost in the jungle, trying to search for a lost city. And this plant is supposed to be about a foot high. It's red, growing deep in the jungle, and its juices, when it's mashed up and prepared in a specific way, the juices of this plant, when applied to stone, completely liquefy the stone, according to all of the oral tradition, and this was used to soften the stone to a point that these builders could work with it more easily and sort of like you say, pour it into place almost.
Well, I know that, people might think because of your knowledge on this stuff and the fact that you've moved down there, that you may be one of these people who are very much into the ancient alien theory, but the truth is you're not. You're actually taking it in a different direction, correct?
Yeah, I was saying before a little while ago that I've researched mythology for about 15 years and alternative history as well. And for most of that time, I was pretty closed off to the idea of ancient aliens. It's only really been in the last 5 years that I've started to open myself up to the idea of sort of alien intervention, both ancient and modern.
Mm-hmm.
And but yeah, part of the reason that I stopped watching programs like Ancient Aliens is because I find that everything in the world in the show is traced back to aliens, no matter what it is. and I have no problem with the basic idea. I think we have to be honest about our own ignorance here. We're not clear on anything one way or another, but I think to trace everything back to one particular cause is simplistic. And so yeah, I tend still to lean towards a lost civilization hypothesis, the idea that there existed a worldwide culture that probably through a global cataclysm of some sort was obliterated, and we've forgotten our own history.
Ian, we're getting low on time here, but I wanted to talk to you a little bit about this museum that I guess you visited with the elongated skulls.
Right. Yeah, this museum is about I guess about 40 minutes south of Cusco, and it first sort of crossed my radar a couple of years ago when I first moved to Peru. It was in a Peruvian news agency. They reported on they put it this way: an alien skull was found in Cusco. And so, of course, when I got to Cusco, that was one of the first things that I went to see. This skull and the skeleton, it's a complete skeleton. It has an elongated skull to it. The body measures about 50 centimeters total. And it has enormous eye sockets, very, very strange sort of anomalous parts to this being, whatever it is. Enormous eye sockets, basically missing a nasal cavity, missing any kind of brow ridge. It also, and these are the two bits that are most interesting. It has a soft spot. So you know how when babies are born, newborns, they have soft spots in the middle of their heads.
Right.
So it has a soft spot, but it also has molars. So soft spots are consistent with babies. Molars are consistent with old age adults.
Yeah,
right. So you have both of these features present in this 50 centimeter high skeleton. Really, when you see the pictures, it's hard to believe that something isn't going on here. Something has to be out of place because there are just too many inconsistencies. This thing was found apparently on a mountain very, very nearby the museum, and it's a mountain where they normally find an abundance of black meteorites, and they just happened to stumble on this skeleton, and from what the discoverer told me, I was able to talk to him for a little while. From what he told me, they're embarking on DNA testing to sort of determine whether or not this thing really is human or if it comes from somewhere else.
Now, can they do carbon dating on that? Can't they?
On the skeleton, they can, but they haven't. so they're trying to get funding, obviously, to do all of this. It's a very small museum. When you walk in, it just looks like a shoebox, and it has a couple of elongated skulls that he had found in the Paracas region, which is on the coast, and then it has this quote-unquote alien skeleton. And so he's working with some private groups and also soliciting the help of the History Channel, probably in connection with Ancient Aliens, to try to really get some answers concerning this thing.
And as far as you're concerned, this skull would be different from a skull that was headboarded as a child.
Oh, very, yeah. And in fact, Brian Forster and David Hatcher Childress, they wrote a decent book a pretty good book on the mystery of the elongated skulls, and they discuss sort of the physical features associated with head binding, and this thing had none of them. I mean, it's really just it looks natural. There don't seem to be any indentations, say where the board would have pressed against the skull above the eyes. There really don't seem to be any indications that this is anything but a natural skull, a naturally formed skull. So it's really quite interesting. He was very generous. The discoverer was very generous with his time. He allowed me to photograph it and examine it at length. And I mean, I'm not a doctor, but it definitely looks genuine, and it's worthy of further investigation.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we've kind of gotten to the end of our time here, but I wanted to ask you, if somebody wanted to go down to Peru and cruise around or go to a certain place, if they had to choose one place to go, what would you tell them to go to, or where to go to?
I would be torn, but if I had to tell them to go anywhere, it would be Cusco. There's so much within 20 minutes of that city and within the city proper that you can see. I mean, if you only have 7, 10, 15 days, just stay there. And Machu Picchu is only about, I guess, 4 hours by train from Cusco. That would be a day trip. So, that would definitely be the destination I'd recommend.
Well, Ian, thank you so much again. And like I say, I will get a hold of you as soon as the show airs and let you know where you can get it. And we'll stay in touch. I'd like to keep in touch with you even when you get down there to Peru.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll keep you abreast of things.
Great. Well, thanks a lot, Ian, and you have a wonderful evening.
You too. Thanks very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.